Good evening, everyone, and welcome to KingPittdawg Racing. And let's get at it here. I want to get a practice lobby opened up, but we are going to do the world's fastest review of the HSSSR spec race cars. And again, what is the HSSR race cars? HECS, which is my invitation-only series that I administer. Stock, specially modified spec race cars. So there's a whole list up here. I am going to go over those. I'm just going to verify real quick that this is actually working, and it is. So here we go. This is going to be the fastest review you're going to get of these yet. There are two special situations on these cars. Number one, the Super RZ 2019 will not get into spec. Neither will the Cayman GT4. The Super RZ 2019, you're going to need to do a 2JZ engine swap on this in order to use this one. It's that simple. I'm not allowing this car. It doesn't fit. The 2JZ spec car fits under the specs. So this one is not allowed. Again, you got to start with the Super RZ 2019, do an engine swap to the 2JZ, and that's pretty expensive. So if you want to run this car, you're going to have to do the engine swap. And then here we go, as fast as we can go through it. The Cayman GT, if you want to drive this car, just reach out to me. We'll get it figured out. You will be underpowered. I'm just letting you know that car does not get into spec with the proper power, so that will be underpowered. So here we go, the Willys Jeep. Again, another car you're not going to probably want to actually run. I'm going to give you the quick settings. There's specs, and then this is what we had to do to it. So you can watch my other videos to figure out what we need to do on these cars to make them work, but I'm going to go through this list as fast as I can so people can just screenshot it, and they got it. This is the Wicked Fabrication 51 GT51. This is the Lincoln. Only weight reduction stage 1. Every car will have increased body rigidity and all of the add-on accessories. This is the settings to get it to our spec as it is. It comes out to $569.14. Again, why are these older cars important? Because we're going to be running at Goodwood in eras. We'll still be running pre-1980s cars, and then we'll be running 80s and 90s cars, and then 2000 plus cars. And there's more details to that, but that's in another video, so we're just going to keep moving here. We're going to go through this entire list. The E-Type Coupe, this is one of the few cars that you cannot put a wide body on. So the settings on this car are right over here. There's no real engine mods needed. Weight reduction stage 1, increased body rigidity, and then these are the settings to make it work. Again, we'll let you guys play with aero a little bit as long as it stays within spec. This car should have no problem staying within spec. So again, this would be for the vintage racing when we go to that route. I am going to move this. When I see these wrong, I'll adjust these up. I don't think it actually makes a difference on the PP, but I'm going to make these right on the square where they're supposed to be. So that is the E-Type Coupe 61. This is out of the Legends cars, and this is the only Jaguar I could make work for the hissers. So on to the next one, the Corvette 63 Stingray. And this one did not require a lot either, just weight reduction stage 1. All of our bolt-on stuff, it's the same on every car. And then these are the settings in order to make it work. Again, ballast positioning on any of these cars, that's your choice. But the better you can balance these cars out, this one now to 59.41 with the ballast moved to the rear. And then you can see that there's one of the few cars that has the engine adjustment. Otherwise, we're using the restrictor to set the weight within spec. So there's that one. And then the next one is our 1965 Mustang GT350. This one here, again, another car that fit in the spec pretty well. Add your increased body rigidity, but no weight reduction needed. These are your settings. No ballast needed. This car was right at 2,800 pounds, and you're going to set your power restrictor at 73. One thing about this car I will tell you, get your body height up on the front end because it will not turn. So just a quick note there for you. Okay, so 65. Now we're going to go 69 with our Corvette Stingray. This one here, again, another one that didn't require a whole lot of work. 2 weight reductions on this car. Why is that brake system on carbon? That was an error. So we'll fix that. The brake system should be racing brake kit, so that's an error, so I'll have to fix that when I get in there. It shouldn't be carbon on this one. That must be why the performance points are up on this car. But again, the output adjustment, 70 on the restrictor, 91 on the ECU. Okay. And then again, you can mess with the air. I'm setting by spec, I'm setting the aero roughly in the middle of the front section there on these cars, unless we have to specifically set them for the actual, to actually get it in the room spec. So again, these cars, 2,800 pounds, 255 max horse, 2,800 pounds minimum. I want them at 2,800 pounds, not over, not anything over the 2,800 pounds. We want it right at 2,800 pounds. And then the horsepower, we went between 250, 255. Max you can get and keep it in the room. So this is the Mangusta. And again, this car, I don't think it required too much. No, there wasn't really much. We put the standard things on it. And we got the this one, just all we had to do is set the power restrictor at 72 and add 85 kilograms of ballast. So that's a really sweet looking car. Might be a fun car to drive in the vintage race. Next one's up is our pony cars, our Mustang 1969. I did not drive this car. This car looks like it's sitting on the, so do a little testing on it if you're going to do it, but this one required all 3 weight reductions, of course our increased body rigidity, and then we had to set the power restrictor all the way to max at 70, and then our ECU at 85, and 76 on the ballast. Again, you can position that as you wish. The Camaro 69, again, this thing, sounds like it's ready to go to the racetrack. Alright, that one sounds good. Weight reduction stage 1 and 2, increased body rigidity, and then we're setting our power restrictor at 75 and our ballast at 96. So I had a bit, could barely, it was just over after 1 weight restriction, so that's why there was so much on the ballast on this going back into it. Then, alright, next car up, 70 Super B, and this car actually drove pretty good. I drove this car messing around, we were messing around with some practices. Weight reduction stage 1 and 2, and then our settings, 70 on the restrictor, 44 on the ballast, and 95 on the ECU control. So, I've been trying to set these, we're gonna buzz through these, I don't want to spend too much time on these, so we're just going to keep going. We're not going to make sure everything's perfect. The Skyline Hardtop 2000 GTR, this one here required a ton of engine work. So just so you know, you're going to have to spend some money on this one. Everything but the titanium connecting rods and pistons. And it was pretty light, so we ended up having to add, so it kind of hurt its performance points level. We're still 100 on the restrictor and the ballast. We're right at the horsepower max at 255. But we had to have 170 kilograms of ballast on this one. So it really hurts its performance points. The car would probably actually perform very well. So it has going to be carrying around some extra weight. All right, next car up, the 71 Mach 1 Mustang. Whoops, wrong button. Here we go. This one required all 3 weight reductions, of course, our increased body rigidity, and then we set our restrictor at 74 and our ballast at 75. And again, you can position that ballast as you wish. Putting it towards the rear is going to give you the best performance points. Alright, next one on the list. Let's see, I got lost my spot. There we go. The Greddy Fugu Z. This one is the same car we drove in the Winter Sprint Series. Again, it's one of the other ones that you can't add a wide body to because it's a tuner car. It already is a wide body. Car settings here, the biggest restriction on this one, it's already a light car with a lot of power, so we have to restrict the power down to 77 and add 170 kilograms again of ballast. Again, a light car that doesn't get to use its advantage there, so take that into account. It drives very nice, but it's just not that fast in this form. So, all right, next one up, we are at 1973, so we're going to be in our CSL. And this is the 3.0 version, the 73 version. There's a 71 version you could build. I'm sure it's pretty much identical. I think they have the same horsepower numbers. We did add the racing crankshaft and the high lift camshaft on this to get it up to power after all of our normal adds. And then all we have to do after that is put 99 on the restrictor and 20 kilograms of ballast. Again, you can put that where you want, but this car is a 50-50 weight split, so I would leave it where it's at if it's me. Next car up. Let's see, it will be, and let me go down to this one because we've discussed this in a couple of videos so far. The 308 GTB, I will make this car work. We're going to figure out how to make this car work, but there's a glitch in there and I don't want to do it twice on a 200 1,000 credit car. But and like I said, I bought the car, put weight reduction on it, and then went in there and the ballast was maxed out. And it was at 2,600 pounds. So that will be the next one in line. In fact, I'm just going to stick this one in there just so we can keep track of it and don't forget about it. So next car then was going to be our 78 Trans Am, okay? And that is the same basic Trans Am that we used in the Trans Am series. We've just went in and added all the different things, reduced the weight down, weight reduction stage 1, 2, 3, increased body rigidity. This one can run right at 100% power with all the adds, and then you're going to add 57 kilograms on the ballast. So again, another car that actually rates pretty good on the scale there. You can't, even though it's got a spoiler up there, you can't adjust the downforce, so you're stuck with what you got. So that's another one that could be a potential sleeper that could be run in the series. And again, you're not tied to these cars. I'm just going over them to show you the differences. So that is our pre-80s era cars. Now we get into the 80s cars when we get with the Sierra RS Cosworth 87. There's a couple of cars. I'm not going to take the time and build them right now. But I will show you there's a couple more cars we're going to build. But this Cosworth 87, again, every single car is built the same. This is one of the few that has a wing that you can't change to the correct type of wing, so you can see the wing that's on there right now. This car requires no reductions in power, no additions in power, no reductions in weight, I meant to say. But we will be running this thing at 92 on the restrictor and 63 on the ballast. Again, you can position that where you want. Okay, next car up is my favorite car, the one I drive all the time. That is the Supra 3.0 GT Turbo A. And whoops, I went the wrong way there. Hang on. Okay, here we go. So we're going to go in the other one here, and I'm going to show you, I don't remember which one. I think this one's got my settings in it. Yeah, this one's got my settings. We need to go back to the other one. This one is the base settings, so this would be your base settings, and I will be driving this car tonight to see how it drives. But we're going to add basically just 2 weight reductions, add all of our power adders, and then we're going to go 76 on the power restrictor and 46 on the ballast. And again, these are all set at 10 above, and everything's pretty much set. I didn't fix all of these, but we're going to put all of these in the middle for testing. And the camber doesn't really change. I've never seen it change the performance points. So camber might be something we can mess around with at Daytona, because Daytona's high banked. You don't really need that much camber. So all right, so there's 88 Supra 3.0 GT Turbo A that is currently available in the used car center. It's about 105,000, I think, 150,000, something like that. So, on to 89. Here we go. The 89 300ZX, one of the best looking cars ever made, in my opinion. This one here does require weight reduction stage 1 and 2. It is a turbo, so you're going to need to add that racing intercooler, don't forget. 73 on the restrictor, 62 kilograms on the ballast. And again, you can move that where you want. I'm evening these out as I go through these. So 613.59, you won't be able to run soft tires on this. That's not a big deal because we're running sprint races now. We're not really going so. So that gives you the idea there on the 300ZX. And then we go to one of my favorite cars, and that's this M3 Sport Evolution. And there's a couple things we noticed. Steve's building this car, or built this car, and he's at a higher horsepower. I think it's because I've used this car so much that I've actually worn the engine down some, so we're 1 horsepower under, and he's at 91 on the restrictor. I'm at 93. So it's not a turbo car, so you don't need a turbocharger. There's nothing on the engines, no weight differentials needed. All you need is your racing air filter muffler and exhaust manifold, your full control computer. You'll need to add 70 kilograms of ballast and run this power restrictor at 93. For mine, if you've used it, I think Steve might have built a new one, so maybe that's why his was showing more power. So there is the M3 Sport Evolution. Remember, be careful that that's the Sport Evolution, not just the straight M3, because the straight M3 would probably be a little different. This car's probably going to perform better. It's already a performance car. So On to the next one, 1990. We're into the 90s era now. We got the FC, Makoto's car, Makoto's favorite car. And this one here doesn't require anything but polished ports to give it a little bit of a power boost, and then increase body rigidity. And again, I did polished ports because that's the smallest, or the least costly one. In the end, probably the easiest thing to do in reality. Again, but a turbo, so we're going to run it at 100% and 20 on the ballast. So pretty decent setup there on that car. I know Makoto ran that.
I got that BMW screaming around Daytona.
Awesome. All right, so we're about halfway through the list here. All right. Okay, so let's keep going here because we got quite a few cars here to go through yet. Now we are on to the 91 Mitsubishi Twin Turbo. And that is the 3000 GT VR4 here in the United States, or the GTO. In other countries, this car required quite a bit of weight reduction. It required 3 stages of weight reduction. And then we had to go 71 on the restrictor and 12 on the ballast. So pretty simple setup on that one. I'm going to stop adjusting these cars. It's just taking too much time. So here we go. The next car up is the Delta HF Integrale Evolution. This was one Zippy ran in the Winter Sprint Series. And again, we're looking at not a lot on this one. Weight reduction stage 1. 99 on the restrictor and 55 on the ballast. Again, you can put that where you want. I always suggest putting it towards the light end of the car. Okay, next car up, real quick, is the, make sure I'm getting the right spot here. This is the Mercedes-Benz 190E Evolution. This was a recent build, recent addition to the stable here for the HECS cars, and we're going to be weight reduction stage 1, 94 on the restrictor, 64 on the ballast. Otherwise, everything else, like I said, set as close to the middle as possible. Next car up is our 92 NSX Type R. This car doesn't require any sort of weight reduction or engine mods, and we're going to run 77 on the restrictor and 40 on the ballast. This car is very rear heavy, so you might want to put your weight to the front. It'll increase your performance points. Then from there we go on to the 94 Celica GT4. And this car, because it is all-wheel drive, does require 1 stage of weight reduction. And then also one thing I also want to point out here, which I haven't run across really on all-wheel drive yet. Don't forget that torque vectoring center differential is required now in the all-wheel drives. This one you're going to set your restrictor at 83 and your ballast at 28. Next car up is our R32 GTR. And we've got 3 different GTRs built, so this is the first one we hit. So this one, again, there's some slight differences between these. All 3 weight reductions, 70 on the restrictor, and then we're going to hit 98 on the ECU, and then 25 for our ballast.
Tom Celica LOL.
Yeah. So this is the Porsche. This is another one that kind of pushes the limits. So this one's going to be really specific. There's no real ads or anything needed. It is a naturally aspirated car, so we don't have to worry about the air filter or the racing intercooler. Ballast is 0. This car is running at right at the exact weight. The power restrictor is maxed at 70, and we did have to go 1 on the ECU, so 99 on the output adjustment. Again, this is a car I've used, so you may have to do more on that, depending. But we're at 614.40, which gets us under the number by setting these arrows here. And again, that's really sensitive to aero on this car. Again, take a look at that wing. This is not one of the medium 22 wings. We could not get that on it. So if you take a look at that, that is the one that I'm allowing. Okay, so we'll look at that again. So it's kind of like a big giant medium 22 on top of a front end of a boat that they cut out and put on the back of a Porsche. I don't know. All right, enough time in that one. Let's go to the next one here. Now we're into all of our Silvias here, so they're all pretty similar. The 180SX. This one, only unique thing on these is I did a stroke up on this one and a bore up on the other one, and they all ended up at the same. We're running 100 and 100 on the restrictor, so no restrictions needed. We're right at the max, and we're going to need 50 kilograms of ballast. So that's the 180SX, and I'm going to actually skip past the other one, because they're both the same year. And we're going to do the Salady here real quick, because I want to show you. Oh, wait, that was a 96, wasn't it? No, it's this one. This is the one I want to get into. Okay, so this is the actual S14, which was sold here in the United States as the 240SX. That is so popular to transfer over to a LS and become a drift car, or use a turbocharger and drift it. But this one here, 96 on the power restrictor, 20 on the ballast. So pretty close to the mark. This would probably be a pretty good car. It's running at 594 on the spec with our base prototype spec setup. So no adds needed, no weight reduction needed on that one. But I wanted to put those up because they're very similar cars. And then we've got to bump down here to Mr. 2. This was one of our Winter Sprint Series cars, and under our HSSR HISR spec. Again, nothing but our bolt-on adds, 85 on the restrictor. No ballast needed. This car was 2,800 pounds as it was. So that's all you need to know about the Mr. 2. The Supra, the next car up, is the Supra RZ. The 1997 version. This has the 2JZ in it. This one required a lot of restriction, but not horribly bad. Weight reduction stage 1, 2, 3. Kind of these are porkers, even though people don't think so. But that 2JZ is a heavy engine, so we're maxed on the restrictor, 92 on the ECU, and then 47 on the ballast after we do our 3 weight reductions. So that's another option on a Supra for you. The second option for Supras. Then we're going to go down here. I'm just looking. All I'm doing is looking for that other Supra. So here is our 97 R33, which I built in the last video. This one only slightly different than the R32. We got all 3 weight reductions just like the R32. We're going to run 70 on the restrictor, 23 on the ballast, and 93 on the ECU. Okay, again, these higher powered cars are hard to get into the specs. We have to use the ECU, but I want that ECU at 100% otherwise if we're not doing that. So next car up is our Salady, and again, this is basically the same Silvia front end with the 180 back end. This one, I did do bore up on this one. It gave us the exact same results. So we've got this one, though, the difference is we did have to go restrictor on the ballast on the power restrictor. 100 on the ballast on this car because it is light, and then 100 on the ECU. So that one probably be a pretty good car, actually. I mean, we're still right at the numbers, 255 and 2800. So all right. It's been really easy to find these since I figured out they're right after the Supra. So here is the Lancer Evolution. Again, all the Lancers are pretty much the same. Same thing with the WRXs. You're just going to be adjusting the numbers to get in there. So car settings on these, usually, I think all of them are going to require at least 1 weight reduction because they're all-wheel drive. We're going to run 70 on the restrictor, 98 on the ECU after all of our adds, and then 46 on the ballast. All right, moving right along. Where do we go? There we go. So now, speaking of WRX, here's one of them. This is the 2-door coupe. This is one of the ones that's kind of rare these days. Doesn't need any sort of weight reduction on this one. We're going to run 74 on the restrictor after all of our adds and add 10 kilograms of ballast on this one. This is the 2-door version. All right, now we're into 99, and again, these 99 cars and the 2000s can be run in both categories during our Goodwood Fiesta, wide-body Fiesta. So here is our S2000, and this car, again, doesn't need a lot. We're just going to run 92 on the restrictor and 30 on the ballast, so nothing abnormal on this car here. And then we're into 2000. So we got our Tuscan Speed 6. And this one, no reductions, no adds needed to the engine. We're going to put our normal stuff. The biggest thing is this thing is pretty light and pretty powerful. So we're going to restrict it at 70 on the restrictor, 86 on the ECU, and add a ton of weight on it, 170 kilograms to get it to that 2,800 pounds. So this car fits the spec. But you know, it's weighted down a little bit over what it would normally be. Still has a pretty good number on it. And again, that's into that category where you could put soft tires on it if you have an issue and want to try to get that fast lap. All right, moving right along, the NSX 02. This car barely gets under the spec, and this is one was a special request from Adam. He ran very well with it. We do need to add one weight reduction, add a ton of weight back in it. Not as much as the Speed 6, but we're going to run 75 on the restrictor and 127 on your ballast. Again, you got to add all the other stuff. This is a naturally aspirated car, so we've got to add everything in and then reduce your power down to 75. So it should perform very well. This is one of the best handling cars of all time, so that would be, hint, hint, a car might be a good car to drive. And again, we're going to have this draft going on, so get a list of cars that you want to drive, and because there's going to be specific amount of cars allowed at each race. So this is our Silvio Spec R Aero, another favorite of the Winter Sprint Series and the HECS. This car performs very well all around. With our adds on it, we're going to run it at 85 on the restrictor and 30 on the ballast. So nice, sits right there at 600 performance points in base spec. All right. Here we go. We are getting through them now. This is another one that performs very well. It's going to be pushing the limits of, you can see there's nothing to change on this car. We're going to add our normal stuff. We're going to run it at 70 on the restrictor. There's no ballast required, and 99 on the output adjustment. So it is restricted quite a bit, but still a fast car. So 60702, you might be able to toy around with it and be able to run soft tires on it too. So it's right at that border, but you'd have to probably mess with downforce and take some downforce off. Actually, it varies. Downforce is really, you gotta play with it, both sides. So I can tell you, I had to mess around with a lot of these cars to get these numbers. That's why I just started putting them right in the middle up there of the front section. R34 Skyline. I built this one because it was the most powerful of all the Skylines, and so it has the most things you gotta do to it. So weight reduction stage 1, 2, 3. All of our power adds, we're going to be at 70 on the restrictor and 88 on the ECU. We only have to add 7 kilograms of ballast. So again, it might be another good car to run during our series. So just take that as you will. All right, let's find that. Where's that Supra at? Where's that Supra hiding? I think I missed it. Ah, there we go, because it's on the wrong end. Okay, M303. This, again, don't get the M303, which is the 6-cylinder, confused with our M307, which is our Cup car. So we're going to need 2 weight reductions on this thing. And then we're going to be at 70 on the restrictor, 95 on the ECU, and then we're going to have to add back in 22 kilograms of ballast. So pretty simple build. To get another car that's really pushing the limits, so you're going to have to be really careful. You're not going to have a lot of adjustment on this car to keep it under the room limits. All right, moving right along. Here is one of the cars I built. I don't know if I was online when I built this car. Yeah, I think I did. I did build this car while everybody was watching. So this is the TT Coupe 3.2 Quattro. This is the oldest version. This has the VR6 engine in it. So this one has a pretty good performance level. Weight reduction stage 1 and 2. We're going to be at 91 on the restrictor, 54 on the ballast. Okay, and that is, again, the other ones are 4-cylinders. This is a VR6 or a narrow angle V6, basically a V6 that shares a common head. Some people refer to it as an inline 6. It's kind of a combination of both. All right, so let's see. Now we got to find our Supra. Where does it? There it is. Okay. Now the DeLorean, again, another might be a fun car. In fact, this one we could probably let this one run in the vintage races as well. So, because these cars came out technically right around 1980. So this one I'd probably allow to run in the pre-80s or in the 80s and 90s, just because this 04 is technically just a continuation car build. So this one does require a lot of work: bore up, high lift camshaft, high compression pistons, weight reduction stage 1. It does require 94 on the restrictor and then 111 on the ballast. And the car is very, very rear heavy. So this is a rear engine car like a Porsche, not a mid engine car. The engine is half hanging over the back axle, so it's not considered a mid engine car. All right, so now we have gotten into the later parts of the 2000s. So the 2007 Z. This car fits under the spec barely. And again, the other one is even tighter, so the next generation. So this is the VQ 3.5 liter engine to start. This is the 07 version. We need weight reduction stage 1 and 2. We're going to need to be 71 on the restrictor, okay? 42 on the ballast. And again, you have to be careful with positioning your ballast and with your aero on this because it barely is making it under the spec. And we had to do the restrictor one more because in order to get it in the spec to get the 251. That's still in our goal range, so it works. But again, I don't want to be adding weight to these cars. We're just going to be working with the power and the aero to get these cars in spec. All right, so that brings up right where we need to be. The other Z30, the Z34. Now this car is really pushing the limits. You're going to have to be extremely careful trying to drive this car and be in the spec. Take a look at this aero setting. This is where it brought down the performance points the most. Okay, and I couldn't move the ballast on this one because it was causing it to go over the numbers. So 46 on the ballast, 70 on the restrictor, 95 on the ECU. After we add all of our other stuff in, this is still a naturally aspirated car. This is the 3.7 liter VQ version. So there's a VQ 35 and a VQ 37. This is the VQ 30. Oh yeah, it says right there, VQ 37. And then these are high output. So this is the higher output engine from the beginning, just like the one that's in my Infiniti FX, which has the higher output, the sport model. So there's that. Again, something to consider there is you're going to be really tight and really limited on your adjustments on that car. And then the Me Too, I'm not going to hit a lot on this car. It unfortunately has to have a lot of ballast and even the power restricted and a ton of engine work done on it, as you can see over here. Probably not going to be a competitive car, but I built it anyway. It is fun to drive in challenges when you unrestrict it. So I will say if you did decide you wanted to try this car out, you could always use it for that. I use these cars all the time. I'm not building these for nothing. Most of them I have not driven that much or at all. But some of them, when I've been curious about them, I've unmodified them and driven them in challenges and stuff. Or unrestricted them. All right, so the TTS 09, somebody had asked me about this. I think it was Casper. So this car, Casper, if you're looking here, this is the one. We're going to need 2 weight reductions. You're going to need all of your bolt-on stuff, just like all the other cars. We're going to need 77 on the restrictor and 96 on the ballast. And again, I suggest putting that to the back. It's a pretty front-heavy car. Again, these are front-engine car, not these engines. Most of them are sitting forward of the axle on most of these. So they're usually pretty front heavy. So there is your settings on the 09 TTS Coupe. Again, that's one of the newest cars in the game. And then the Scirocco. This is another car that could be a pretty good choice for you. You can see where the PP level is, 61338, where we got it set. This car doesn't need any sort of add-ons, but it does need a little weight reduction. And then we do that, we got to go in and add 1 whole kilogram of ballast and set our restrictor to 82. So quick one there for the Scirocco. Again, anybody who wants to figure out how to build these cars, I've got several videos now lined up with these HSSR cars. I'm not going to spend a lot more time on building. We're moving on to the RS Trophy. I want to get through every one of these here before we open up the lobby. And again, we're going to be probably another 15 to 20 minutes here, and then we'll get the lobby opened up. So this one, weight reduction stage 1, power restrictor set at 79, and then we have 22 kilograms of ballast. This might be a good car to drive. It's pushing, even with the ballast on there, it's still pushing almost 600 performance points. So might be another good car to drive. This is a front engine front drive for those who like front engine front drive cars. Personally, I'm not a big fan of a front drive, but some people love driving them and know how to drive them well. So again, this DS Racing 3, this car is going to kind of suffer the same fate of the Me Too. Has a lot of, it doesn't require any restriction. We didn't have to add anything to it. It gets into the spec, the 250 to 255 horse spec, but we have to add 105 kilograms of ballast in these lightweight cars. It just absolutely kills them. So even putting it to the back to try to level it off, it still hurts it. So you can see where the performance point level is. That's pretty unfortunate because I wish there was something we could do. We may work something out eventually because some of these cars, if we run like a hot hatch race or something like that, we might be able to unrestrict these a little bit. So RX-8 Spec R Aero. This was another car that's been a HSSSR car since the beginning. It was a Winter Sprint Series car. This one requires just one weight reduction, and then we're going to run after all of our ads, we're going to run the restriction. This is an NA car, so it's not a turbo, so air filter, muffler, exhaust. Power restrictor at 94, ballast at 55. It's a 50-50 car, so I'd leave it in the middle. You can do what you want. And other than that, that's everything else set baseline. So that's another good car. Then we got our Crown Athlete. One of the this car is playing a couple personalities. This is also one of our Cup cars. It's basically the same build, like I said, as the Cup car, except that this one, because it retains its original V6, is considerably lighter. But we're still going to need to add all 3 weight reductions. We're going to set our restrictor at 72 and our ballast at 49. Okay. Now, the reason the Cup car gets heavier is because it has the heavier racing engine, V8 racing engine in it. So that's really the only difference between the build on the Crown is the engine swap, the transmission, because the Cup cars use a fully customizable racing transmission, and then the brakes, which these use racing brake system, where the Cup cars use the carbon brake system. All right, so we're just about done. The 2013 Genesis Coupe, another one might be a decent car to run. Requires 2 weight reductions. We got to add a little bit of ballast in there. It does have quite a bit of power, so we have to restrict it quite a bit. 70 on the restrictor and 95 on the output, but only 25 kilograms of ballast to get it back to spec. So that might be that's another good potential car. Front engine rear drive car, usually your best or second best choice when racing. Now here's one Keith had an inquiry about, and I'm going to put this one up here. This is the A45 AMG 13. I will tell you that I did test this car. It does have a 7-speed manual transmission. It does require 2 weight reductions. We do have to restrict the power down to 70 and 86 on the ECU, and then add 26 kilograms on the ballast. Again, it is a turbo, so you'll need that intercooler. And we get about 589. I think if you messed around with the top speed setting, and again, we're not allowing individual gear set adjustments. So if you mess around with the top speed setting, you will be good to go on this one, because I ran it with this base spec, and I was only about a second off of what I was running in some of the other cars. So it drove pretty well. I seemed like I was lugging when I went to 7th gear, so you'd probably be better off turning that down a little bit, or you could completely turn it way down or turn it way up and eliminate 7th gear. So you got a little bit of not use 7th gear. You can't eliminate it, but pardon me. All right, enough on. I'm not going to stay on these cars very long here, so. All right, the Peugeot, again, this is just like this probably the same car actually as the Citroen. Again, you're not really having to do a lot to it, but you do have to, on this one, you have to add 70 kilograms of ballast, and that kind of kills the performance points. It does get into the spec. We don't have to do any adjustments on the output. And again, that's that Clio, the Citroen DS, and the Me Too. All those have their performance advantage is the fact that they are. Oh shoot! You know what I did? I missed. Hang on. I missed the Mini Cooper. Dog darn it! Hang on. Let me get that real quick. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Okay. So the Mini Cooper was messed up. So we got to go. Oh, that's a lot of cars to go back through. Yeah, we're just gonna leave it as it is. So the TTS coupe, I've touched on this one before. One weight reduction, 70 on the restrictor, 97 in the output, and 24 in the kilogram on the... The Mini Cooper is a enigma kind of on this one here, because this is the one car that we actually allow a supercharger high-end torque. Engine balance tuning, polish ports, and then it can stay 100% on the power, but you have to add 90 on the ballast, which kind of hurts its performance points. These cars are super sensitive to weight for performance points, these lighter cars. So, alright, so there's the Mini Cooper, and we're going to kind of keep that one aside to kind of keep it in the know, so everybody is in the know here. Here's the WRX 2014. Again, this 04 should be a very similar build. 2 weight reductions on this one. 70 on the restrictor, that gets us exactly where we need to be, and then 34 on the ballast. So, pretty simple one on that one. And then our Ford Focus 2015. This one here, 2 weight reductions on this one, 82 on the restrictor, 57 to get that back up to spec on the ballast. Very simple one there. Right around, hovering around that 600 level on medium tires, which is probably about ideal. Maybe a few points over if you can find it, but I think the cars will perform well regardless. Anything over like 590 is going to perform pretty well. 585 even. They'll perform well. And again, it depends on how well you want to drive them. Again, the idea of these cars is to learn how to drive the cars well, get comfortable with the car. I'm going to hit this one first, the Clio. Again, we talked about these lighter cars and what happens to them. This one, we had to add 91 on the ballast, so that really hurts its performance points. 96 on the restrictor. Pretty simple. Just built this one in the last video, or I might have actually built this one after I shut off, but again, it's all the same build on everything. No reductions needed. And then the Civic Type R, we built this one I think in the last video. I put a little bit of livery stuff on here, so if anybody wants to drive this one. This one here only required 1 weight reduction, but we do have to restrict it quite a bit. Completely restrict it with the power restrictor, and that gets us to the max power of 255. You may have to drop 1 on the ECU if your car is newer or you overhaul the engine. I'm not sure. Again, we're going to always max out the restrictor first. So ballast, 28, and then you're good to go after your weight reduction. So that is your 2015 FK2 Civic Type R. We've got 2 more Civic Type Rs coming up here in the next few cars. So a lot of them are all kind of in the same area. The RCZ, again, another car that takes a little bit of a hit because we add weight, but this might be a good car to drive. These cars are always fast, but it does require a lot of engine work. Bore up, engine balance tuning, ports, polished ports, high lift camshaft, titanium connecting rods and pistons, and racing crankshaft, plus a weight reduction. Then you're going to run it, at that point you're going to run it 98 on the restrictor, and then we're going to need 55 kilograms of ballast to get it back to spec. But again, keep an eye on that 255. It's right at you might end up having to drop the restrictor down 1 more. So you may lose a couple. You just have to see how your car is. Mine was, I think I bought this one new, so you shouldn't have to, but again, that's something that came up that Steve had asked me a question about, so we'll have to keep an eye on that, because I thought most of these cars I bought as new as possible, or were new. Or they were straight out of the used car center, and I changed the oil first on them. So here's the Alpine, another car I like, but it takes a hit because we have to throw a bunch of weight at it, because it's under the weight to begin with, and pretty powerful. 82 on the restrictor after all of our adds, 167 on the ballast. And again, that's where it takes a hit. This car drives and handles very well, so it might be another good car to choose. Again, all these cars are not going to balance out, but certain tracks they may be better at. So M2 competition. We're down to the last few cars here. Weight reduction stage 1 and 2. This car required us to go almost fully on restriction on this thing. So 70 on the restrictor, 73 on the output adjustment. So almost completely restricted here on this one. But we only had to add 10 kilograms ballast back in there after our 2 weight reductions. So 2,800 pounds, 254 horse. This would probably be another good car to run. These are very well performing cars in real life. So something to consider there. All right, now we're down to the last few. We got the Mazda 319. This car required quite a bit of engine work because it was the non-turbo version. So bore up, high lift camshaft, racing crankshaft, and high compression pistons. Then we're going to turn our restrictor down to 96 and add 42 on the ballast. This isn't all-wheel drive car, so just keep an eye. It does need the torque vectoring center differential. They also make the GT4, or the GT4 version of this car is front-wheel drive. So just keep that in mind. And I think the GT4 version is turbocharged as well. So a little bit different than the road car, which usually isn't the case in the game, so just keep an eye on that. All right, now, here we go. We talked about this right at the beginning. Super RC. This right here is why this car is not allowed. You see this car's at 245 and it's 612.90. This car is right on the edge. So this one here, the 2J version, this one is, again, we're doing 4 weight reductions on this car because of the 2J, which is a heavy lump of an engine, iron block engine, with all kinds of reinforcements in it. This is, I think it's a 650 plus pound engine, and just the long block. That's before you start bolting stuff on it. And then we're going to run this thing 70 on the restrictor, 92 on the output adjustment, and then after all that weight reduction, we got to add 15 kilograms of ballast. And again, this is another car you're going to have to play with. You're not going to have a lot of adjustments on because of the fact that it is right at that border of our spec, our room spec, which is 616, and it was 615, but so many cars were right at that border, I decided to move it up 1 point. Oop, wrong button. All right, so now we are basically wrapped up. We got a few more cars here to finish things off. Our GR Yaris, and this is very similar to the Corolla hatch. We're going to have to add 1 weight reduction because it's all-wheel drive. But then we got to dump in another 109 kilograms of ballast and drop the power restrictor down to 79 on this one. And that's where this one gets its performance points hurt, because its performance weight based on its light weight. And we're right in that wheelhouse where it actually would be stronger for it to be lighter. So, okay, our second of the Honda Type Rs, as far as the Civics go. Weight reduction stage 1, I think all of these required a 1 weight reduction. This one requires a 70 on the restrictor and a 96 on the output, and then 37 kilograms of ballast. The BRZ Subayoda 86 twins here. These are both exactly the same. They don't require any sort of adds over here, but because of we added air filter, muffler, exhaust, and all that, we're going to be 94 on the restrictor. No ballast. Okay, and I'm just going to jump into the 86 just to show you that they are the same. And we're down to our last 2 SIR cars. Again, no changes, 94 on the restrictor, no ballast. Okay, so exactly the same car. They're not called the Subayoda twins for nothing. It's funny that there's a little bit of a difference. It must be because I use this car so much more. See the performance points? So they got some sort of algorithm in there that tracks how much you use these cars. All right, our last 2 cars. Again, we mentioned this car before, the Morizo version of the GR Corolla. 2 weight reductions on this one, but otherwise it's the same driveline that is in the 1.6 liter 3-cylinder engine that's in the Yaris. In this case, we're going to run it at 72 on the restrictor, and then we're going to have to add in 71 kilograms of ballast on this car. This would have a slightly longer wheelbase, I believe, so this might make for more stable handling, just because small wheelbase cars tend to be twitchy. All right, our last car that we have built is the Civic Type R. This is the 22 model, the newest one you can build. And again, this one's going to require 2 weight reductions. And it is turbocharged, so we're going to have to restrict this one fully on the power restrictors, down to 70, and then 93 on the ECU, and then you got to add 84 ballast back in after all of the adjustments. Again, this car is probably going to be really good to drive. It's 60502 on mediums, so you should be able to, as I said before, add softs and stay under that number. So just to give you guys an idea, that's always a strategy move. Again, you're not locked into these cars this season. So we're going to have the draft, though, so you're going to have some cars that you might want to drive. All right, so that's it. And again, there was some other cars I'm going to build. I'll add into the list. But it's going to be pretty much the same thing as cars we already have. This particular version of the GT, the previous generation, I figured take the one with the most power, which is the 16 in this case, and I think the 18 BRZ. And then you got this WRX right here. Again, if anybody wants to build their 300 SL Coupe, they can do that. I'm not going to build mine at this point because I could just see Gran Turismo coming up with a race where we got to run these. So unless I get a second one, I'm not going to build it. Again, going back to their Lancers, this MR is probably going to be the best one if you build it and turn it down, but I built the 5 because it's right in the middle of all the other ones there, and there's all kinds of Lancers in this game. So there might be a few other cars, but as you can see, that is a very, very comprehensive list. We've got 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, 42, 48, 54, 60, 66, 72, 75 of them, and possibly 76 of them. So that's more than enough cars to choose from during an event. And again, the draft we'll be using will determine that. So that is it. That is the quickest review, the best review you're going to get of the HSSR cars. Again, all of them are built exactly the same. They're built starting with a stock car. You go in and add wide body, add your tires you want. They need to be 17-inch wide if it's available. Everything as wide as you can, as close to 17 inches as you can. You're going to add your front splitter, your side skirts if they're available, the rear diffuser, and the medium 22 wing. If it's a hatch and you can't get the medium 22 wing, it's the type that looks like the medium 22 wing. It's like usually type B if there's multiple options. There are a few exceptions on those off the top of my head. The RS Cosworth, the Carrera Porsche, and the 2 Acuras both have wings that you can't put the proper wing on. So those are spec'd out in the builds. Again, there's multiple videos on these sister cars. This is the last time I'm going to go as comprehensive through these as possible. We're going to get the lobby up and running here for doing some practice here, and we're going to get things rolling here and try to get some things set. Again, we're running at Daytona tomorrow night. And almost exactly 25 hours from now, 24 and a half hours. And we're going to be in these 3 cars right here. Our NSX Concept 2016, the RCF Concept or GT 500 2016, and the GTR Nismo. And there are specific settings on those cars. These are the settings for the Nissan. Mark those down. These are the settings for the Lexus. Again, mark those down. The Lexus is the only one that we're not doing max on the downforce because it actually has more. So we're reducing it down to get the performance point level up, and this is where the car will be spec'd. Okay. There's the Lexus, and then one more, the Acura, and it is basically the same as the Nissan. So these cars are all within a few horsepower of each other and a few pounds. So this will be a really good, nice, even race. So again, here's your Acura, same downforce as the GTR. And I will set this room at 836. That's going to be the max, and the minimum weight is going to be 2,300. The minimum weight's going to be, well, how come they're showing the weight? Yeah, 2249, so. Now, I do know we did run these last year, and the Acuras were faster, so take that into account. Again, we're restricting the settings this year, so you're going to be having a lot more downforce. The car should be pretty stable on the infield, though, so. All right, that's it for this video. Again, that's the quickest review you're ever going to get of the hissers. One more time through the list here, we're just going to show you the list. And we're just going to scroll down slowly so you can figure those out. If you need to screenshot it, go ahead. These are the cars that are approved right now. And again, we're working on that one right there. That's why I went over to this spot. That one right there, the 308, we're going to get that one. We're going to make that one work. But this particular one I was building did not work. So we'll figure out how to do it. I'm going to use this car right here. Again, if you want to run the Cayman, reach out to me. I wouldn't even bother with the Willys Jeep. The a GR Supra has to have the engine swap to work. We're not going to mess with this factory one here. All right, that's it. And then don't forget about our Cup cars and our Craftsman trucks, which we'll be using next week, and I'll have a whole nother video on those. And I will also throw in these two into the list. And again, if you want to run the 300 SL or the Aston Martin DBS, that's another one that I haven't built that would work. Just let me know, and just let me know where the numbers come out and tell you where to restrict it. It should be pretty self-explanatory. This car is only going to require one weight reduction, and probably by the time you add all the power stuff, it'll probably be right in the range. So again, if we end up having to build something on it, add some power to the engine, we're going to go with the cheapest thing that we can put on there. Usually polished ports. Also the easiest thing to do. So that's it for this video. We'll see you guys in just a few minutes. We're going to come back on and get a lobby started here. So here we go. We'll see you all in a little bit. And don't forget, tomorrow night and then Sunday afternoon is our main races. Tomorrow night's qualifying heat race 1, 2, 3. Should be interesting because those are always a learning experience. A lot of battling. And then our main race 1 and 2, which is technically one race, so we won't be inverting the field at all. So that's it. We'll see you around next time. Until then, KingPittdawg out.